Where Hollywood Hides, here's Bob and Suzanne.
Chicken joke!
I'm Mrs. Cleaver.
From Television City in Hollywood.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller played.
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
We're on a mission from God.
Run, Forrest, run!
We can rebuild him. We have the technology.
You had me at hello.
Nano.
Baby, you're the great.
I'm not going to be ignored.
Here comes the judge. Go ahead. Make my day.
I got nowhere else to go!
Small cowbell.
That fashion.
There's anything wrong with that.
You can't handle the truth!
I'm not an actor. I'm a movie star.
That's the story of my life. No respect. I don't get no respect at all. I'm the dude.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
And now for something completely different.
There's no business like show business, like no business I
Welcome to Where Hollywood Hides. My name is Bob McCullough.
And my name is Suzanne Herrera McCullough.
Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, Bob.
Pretty excited today. We have a great interview guest. Listen, before we start, though, I want to remind everybody, go to our website at wherehollywoodhides.com, and there you will have an opportunity to buy our book, Where Hollywood Hides.
Celebrities in Paradise.
And it's always available at Amazon.com. But if you get it through our website at wherehollywoodhides.com, you will get free shipping, which is kind of a bargain these days.
Yes, it is. You know, I was reading Hollywood Reporter, which happens to be one of my favorite things to read. I came across an article about Kirk Douglas.
One of my favorites.
Yes, who just turned 100 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
Last month.
You're making me feel old.
And they had a celebrity-studded party for him at the Beverly Hills Hotel. What was really kind of neat is they named each table after his movies that he had been in.
Oh, fantastic.
And that was
That's a lot of tables.
And he actually named his favorite movies. His favorite movie of all times that he made, he said, was called Lonely Are the Brave.
Mm-hmm.
That was his very favorite movie. And this is really funny. This cracked me up. He said, out of my 3 sons, they all voted to have Michael give me the party because he's made the most money.
Oh, that's funny.
Because, you know,
that's
he's
funny.
a major
right.
star.
He can write the check.
There's always one of those siblings that gets straddled with that. But I wanted to ask you, you have mentioned on our podcast many times about Kirk Douglas, who was a neighbor of ours in Santa Barbara. And you've always said that when you had seen him in person, what a big strapping guy he was. Do you know how tall he is? How tall did he feel to you?
He felt about 6'1".
I am happy to tell you that you are taller than he
Oh, my gosh.
He is 5'9".
Really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's shrinking now that he's 100.
No, he was 5'9". Always has been.
You're kidding.
You're so impressionable, Bob.
Well, no. I told you, and I don't want to repeat the story that's been on the podcast before, but the guy has a persona that is huge.
It's called charisma.
He has charisma. When he walks in a room, this is magnetism.
Probably had a huge chest or something.
Exactly.
Right? Anyway, a lot of great, exciting news in the Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah, Hollywood Reporter's turned into a great go-to resource for sure.
Well, we're going to interview someone that is very close to your heart.
Well, just one of the most special actors I've ever worked with. This is a woman who is, how can I put it? Uncommonly intelligent and
very beautiful,
energetic, funny, and just a fascinating person.
Great actress
that I worked with for 3 years on Falcon Crest, and she's gone on to do just tremendous things. She got her beginnings working on Broadway opposite Dustin Hoffman. And then quickly wound up on soap operas like A World Apart, Another World, and then was actually cast against another friend of mine from years gone by, Bill Bixby, in The Incredible Hulk pilot.
He was one of my favorites.
Bill was a great guy. And Susan Sullivan also has appeared in every TV show for the last 30 years, including The New Maverick. She was Emmy nominated for her part in Rich Man, Poor Man, playing opposite Peter Strauss.
I love that series.
And then, of course, she did Falcon Crest. Listen to this statistic. They did 227 episodes of Falcon Crest. She was in 207 of them.
Hard-working lady.
And I can tell you this. She was the go-to actor on the set when I was writing. And I'll probably discuss this with her, but
I hope you tell her this.
I knew that I could always depend on her to carry a scene. And after Falcon Crest, she went on to appear in the feature film My Best Friend's Wedding with Julia Roberts and Cameron Diaz. Then she starred in the hit series Dharma and Greg, and most recently in Castle. The great
huge hit show.
Huge ABC hit. So I'm really excited, and let's go talk to Susan Sullivan.
Okay.
This is Bob, and Suzanne is here.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, Bob and Suzanne. Hi. God, I haven't seen you in such a long time. Are you aging well?
As a matter of fact, I am not.
Oh, well, welcome to the club. It's a tricky business, isn't it?
I don't think it's getting around it. Anyway, so nice of you to do this. Thank you so much.
Really good to talk to you.
Well, you're welcome. I'm delighted. And we can overlap, I take it, since I'm an interrupter.
Absolutely.
We can do anything we want. So, Susan, again, thanks for doing this. It's been such a long time since we've spoken, but I feel like I really know you very, very well, having worked with you kind of closely for a while, many years ago.
Well, I think that's one of the most interesting aspects of being an actor, is the dynamic that happens between the writer, particularly, but anybody that you're collaborating with, because you get to know each other on a deeper level than most connections in the work environment, and it's a privilege. It's a unique gift of the actor-artist's road.
I agree. Do you remember the very first thing you ever said to me?
Uh-oh.
You're very attractive, and I think I could care for you. Was it that?
No. The very first thing you said to me was, "So, Bob, tell me about your relationship with your mother."
Oh, that's right.
Oh my God! Yeah, that was one of my favorite opening lines.
But Susan, I have to tell, I've always remembered that you were so right on.
You nailed that one.
You have no idea.
Yeah. Well, please, darling. I've dated enough men to know that if you can get an accurate answer and response out of someone on that one, you're
so
way ahead of the game, at least the dating game.
Right. I'm still working on my response. It's one of the things that our audience loves hearing about is how people become who they are. And in doing that, we kind of like to ask people to step into the Wayback Machine and give us an idea. What was Susan Sullivan like as a little girl? What are your origins? And what made you ever think about becoming an actress?
It's a simple story, and probably a rather common story for actors. I came from a dysfunctional, crazy, messy family. My father was a very well-educated, dynamic kind of man in his own right, went to Columbia University, was a writer, and my mother left school. My father's Irish, my mother's Polish. My mother left school at 15 and was this sprightly, vivacious, beautiful woman on her own, and this was a mismatch of major proportions. So my father really went down the road of the Irishman's dark journey into being an alcoholic, being unhappy with himself and where he was in his life, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think what happens when you have an inclination to be an actor, which is an inclination to perform, an inclination to be seen, when you come out of that kind of a family, you discover pretty quickly that if you can do something amusing, something funny, something clever, something smart, and change the dynamic in the room and break the circuitry that's causing the chaos and the anger and the dysfunction, you're ahead of the game. And then you get acknowledged for it profoundly when it's in your own family. And then you start to move down the road. So I quite honestly felt that this was always my journey. This was always what I wanted to do, what I could do, what I did that worked for me in the world to make my world work. And then as I moved along as an actor, what I discovered was the enormous gift that it is in terms of how you become yourself, how you become as authentic a part of yourself as you can be without, how do you feel about your mother? How do you feel about your father? Are you out of the umbrella under which you grew up? Have you formed your own choices in life? I'm rambling here, but there is a cogent thought.
Sure.
So, Susan, were you an only child?
No. I had an older brother and a younger sister. And everybody dealt with the dynamic, with the family, and everybody does. Why do you think I asked you, Bob, how do you feel about your mother? If you can get that out of somebody,
right.
you're, as I said, ahead of the game. My brother is now deceased. he became, I don't want to make it sound like such a dark journey, but he became a drug addict and had a very difficult time initially in his life, but then sort of came around and became a drug counselor, actually, a methadone counselor. And my sister, my younger sister, I'm the middle child, went on to become a very successful producer at WGBH in charge of children's programming, and now has a whole poetry thing that she's orchestrating there. So she's very successful. So I think by the time the women, and my mother was a strong figure, so we had that to latch onto. You need to have somebody as a role model, otherwise the road is really tricky.
So even as a child, though, you were interested in becoming the center of attention?
Well, I don't like the sound of that, Bob, but I suppose that was probably true. I have a little picture of myself in a brownie show in Ballston Spa, New York, where I lived until I was probably around 6 or 7. So I must have been about 5 years old, and it said little Susan Sullivan twitched and pirouetted for the tickled mothers. And
there you go.
There you go. And this is what I remember about that, which also, and by virtue of the fact that I remember it, which also colored my life, was some little girl in church. This is what I remember. Whether this is accurate or not, who knows? You know how memory is.
Sure.
She said, "Oh, that's the show-off."
Oh.
So, there. That's the show-off. So there's always been a part of me that wanted to be out there, and then a part of me that wanted to hide. And I think that is true of a lot of actors that I know.
And how do you deal with that? And we're jumping ahead here, but as a professional of many years standing, how do you deal with that conundrum of not wanting to be seen yet needing to be seen? You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's the balance that we're all trying to achieve in our lives, I think. How do you reach out and stay authentic to who you are as a unique individual and a quiet spirit that needs to spend time alone, and how do you keep a balance of that? And that's always been tricky, to be quite honest with you. I remember an actor's exercise in New York City years ago, where you would stand in front of your fellow actors in the acting class, and you would the first exercise was to take your hands and push them in front of you and say, "Leave me alone. Leave me alone." This was to bring up feelings. And the other exercise was to put your hands out in front of your fellow actors, look them in the eye and say, I need. So that is part of your really tool chest, that the desire to be angry and not want to need anybody, and the acknowledgement that you do need probably almost everybody.
Now, were you the girl in high school who was in all the plays and musicals?
Yes.
So you started on the early side then?
I would say 3 or 4. Yeah.
Sure.
Early side, yes.
A baby.
Yes. And I was always working, not necessarily as an actress growing up, but I remember going around, forgive me, but this is bizarre, door to door selling tomatoes. Maybe 5 years old. I knew somebody who had a little tomato garden. I would take the tomatoes, and I would go around door to door and sell tomatoes.
But I think that prepared you for auditions.
Right.
It did.
Going door to door. Right. Absolutely.
Please buy my tomatoes. Yeah, well, it's still going on.
So after high school, you went on to, I think you went to Hofstra, is that correct?
I went to Hofstra. I had a scholarship, an acting scholarship to Hofstra. As a matter of fact, I'm just creating an endowment there for. I actually wanted to do it for teachers, because I think the world does not necessarily need more actors, but it does need more gifted teachers, and I think actors essentially are gifted teachers. As a friend said to me, I said, "How do you think I could just say, if you want to be an actor, that's fine, but take up a backup degree to be a teacher?" And she said, "No, that's asking someone to bet on their failure."
There is that, but eating is also a good thing to do.
Yeah, there's that.
Right. So at Hofstra, tell us a little bit about that in terms of collegiate performances and where that led you.
I was, the sort of little leading lady there. The good news was that I got to do a lot of plays, and got a lot of accolades and so on and so forth. However, the bad news is that I was doing plays that were completely out of my ken and age range. I was doing Lady Macbeth and Titania and all these heavy-duty Chekhov plays, which was when I went to the Cleveland Playhouse, which is where I started my career through something called the Theater Communications Group, which I do believe is still around. They created for graduating seniors at various universities that had drama departments. You could go and audition for all these regional theaters in one fell swoop, and which I did. And I went to the Cleveland Playhouse, and the first play they wanted to put me in was Thornton Wilder play,
Our Town.
Yeah. And I said, and I was 20. I think I'm a little too old for this part. And they went, what? I thought I was too old to play Emily.
Oh, that's funny.
So anyway,
funny.
So there was then that, and I try to, when I go and mentor and go to schools and speak to students, I try to make sure that they're working on parts that are age appropriate so that they can tap into who they are right now, as opposed to try to create what they think they'll be down the road 20 years.
So as you were growing up and starting to really get your career together, did you have much family support?
Yes, I did.
That's good.
I had that duality, which really was my mom and dad, because my father would, when I did, was playing somebody way too old for my age in high school, and my father came back afterwards and said, "Who was the guy in the second act who came out? Because he was really good. Somebody who had 2 lines." I went, "Dad, I remember Mama. I was playing Mama. What did you think of me?" He said, "You were fine. And I just thought, oh my God, whereas my mother was, "Oh my Lord, look at what you're wonderful when you were born. I saw your name in lights, and this is it." It was that kind of thing. So it was the balancing act of yes, get out there, and no, stay back and be careful. And I asked my father when he was dying, I said, you did that and it made me feel so, like I wasn't enough. And I still carry that with me, by the way. You never get over that. No. And he said, "No, it was just that I saw it was too easy for you, and I didn't want you to just skim across the surface."
Oh.
Should have told me at the time.
I was going to say, it would have been nice if you'd said it at the time. Right, right.
Yeah.
Right. So after college, tell us about, you became really known as a working professional very, very early on soap operas.
Susan, you have quite a resume. You've been working,
thank you.
Girl.
I have been. It started with the Tomatoes, and on it goes.
Right.
After the Cleveland Playhouse, I was there for two years, and this is interesting. I just, in talking to you, remembered this. They wanted me to stay on, and they offered me Sabrina in something. And my father said, "Susan, if you don't leave, you'll never leave, and you should expand your horizons." And I went, yikes.
Well, yeah,
okay.
that was
I went. I grew up outside of New York, so New York and the New York theater was not a new world for me. And I was a Playboy bunny when I was in college on weekends just to make extra money. So I was familiar with New York and how overwhelming that place was.
So Susan, I have to stop you.
I went to New York.
I have to stop you there. Let me hear about this Playboy bunny. How did that come about?
That came about because this was all about money. It was always like a big thing to have some money and have some money in the bank and be safe and be secure. And I was in college, and during the summer I would work a couple of summers in modeling in New York. I would take the train from Long Island. I was in Freeport at the time, into New York. And one summer I saw this big sign in the subway that said Playboy Club coming to New York, auditioning really for bunnies. And you could go, make an appointment and go in. And I went, oh my God, what fun.
Yes.
What's fun to see the Playboy Club. So I was, on my lunch break, I put all of this padding in my little bosom and marched over to the Playboy Club and went in just to see what the place was like. And they said, okay, we'll try on a costume. And I said, look, you know what? I don't think this is really going to work because I'm in college. I'm going to be going back to school, and I'm on a scholarship. I do plays there, and I don't think it'll. And they said, but it's all right. Just try on a costume. Let's see how you look. And I went, okay, and I have no bosom. And they said, please, unimportant, we'll push you up from your, from your upper thigh. So I tried on the costume, and they said they would work around my schedule, which they did. So my final year of college, I would occasionally go into New York for, the weekend and work at the Playboy Club. You made pretty good money. I would go and wait on these poor people and say, "Forthwith, my lord, will you have a gin and tonic?" Just to keep my Shakespeare in.
Of course,
intact.
You're practicing. Well, I have to say, in those days, it was a big deal to be a Playboy bunny.
This was in New York. You're right, Suzanne, and it did have a cachet around it.
Absolutely.
And this was Gloria Steinem and Barbara Walters, and they wanted to have college girls so that there wasn't the stigma of gals who were like hookers and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So
well,
it was very interesting.
Yeah.
So is this about the time you began auditioning for New York theater?
No, I was still in college, and then from college I went to the Cleveland Playhouse for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Then I came back to New York and pretty quickly got Jimmy Shine, which was a Broadway play with Dustin Hoffman. So then I was sort of off and running.
You gloss over that so quickly. Working on Broadway with Dustin Hoffman or anybody else, that's no longer regional theater. That's the big time. Tell me about the initial feeling, because I know a lot of actors have difficulty with stage fright. How did you overcome it at such a young age? And how do you even deal with it today? Because I think anxiety is part of what makes us, what I'm saying, rise up. It's tough to. It's tough to be.
That's interesting, Bob, because you always have to deal with the anxiety. I still have to deal with the anxiety, even doing a little television thing where I know the lines. Where if I go up, it's no big deal. To go and do a play all the way through, and if you go up, what the hell are you going to do? You're right. If you, of course, go down the rabbit hole thinking about all the things that could go wrong, you're lost on the highway. So I guess part of it is another little story of doing something when I was in high school. It was a contest. It was a speaking contest, and I won it easily. So this is sounding like I was really something terrific, but I won it easily the first year. And the second year I went back and I was, kind of cocky and full of myself. And I thought, I'll do the Gettysburg Address. It's a really good piece of writing. And I memorized it, and I went up and I started and I went up. I just went blank. And they said, that's all right, start again. Started again, went blank again. And I never, ever was as unprepared in my life after that experience. That was like a seminal learning moment in my life, that you have to be absolutely on top of what it is you're doing and know your lines thoroughly, so that there is a thing for actors where you can see it when you watch their work, where you know the line but it's still not settled, so you know it in your being, so you don't have to think about it. You still have to think about, what is my next line? If you're in that place, you're always in danger of going up. If you've settled it deeply enough in you, I could basically improvise the character because I knew what she would say in that moment. Of course, it's a little difficult for your fellow actors because they don't know what the hell you're doing because they're missing their cue. But I think it's really about preparation and holding the anxiety at bay by feeling you know exactly what you're doing and what you want to do. I remember an acting teacher saying, this is your mantra before you get ready to go on. This is how it goes. This is what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing, and this is how it goes. And I think that has helped me. But anxiety, absolutely, Bob, still to this day. And I no longer enjoy it. I think if you can take anxiety and turn it into another word, which is excitement, anticipation, it lives better in you than if it becomes anxiety, fear, in a dark place.
Sure.
Work in your mind.
Sure. So working with Hoffman and Jimmy Shine, How was he to work with in the early years?
Well, he of course, at Jimmy Shine, he had just done The Graduate, so he was a star.
He was on his way, yeah.
Yeah, he was on his way. He was a wonderful actor. Again, very prepared, but very intuitive, kind of actor studio stuff. So I learned a lot from working with him. And I remember one night I was getting ready to make my entrance, and I was sort of his love interest. And he was on stage alone, and he was, kind of mumbling and carrying on. And I heard the audience, or this is what I felt, that I heard the audience sort of, that, when you lose an audience, when you're on the stage and you lose an audience, you hear a little in a restlessness. You can feel it, that you don't have them. And I thought, oh, he's losing the audience. So I instinctively, when I came on with a little more energy than I usually did, and I was a little faster. My dialogue was a little faster, so the audience had to go, what? And I felt I got them back. And after the performance, he called me into his dressing room and said, "What were you doing out there?" And I think I had the balls to say, "Well, I thought you were losing the audience. I thought I was getting them back."
Good for you.
Anyway, we sort of got beyond that. But, yeah, it's a collaboration. You got to be able to do what you think is right.
Yeah, it's a team sport, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So after Jimmy Shine, you really began to get some recognition. Is that when the soap opera career really took off?
Yes, and I also at that point became involved with somebody who did not want me to be an actress. So that was a kind of little push-pull there, because I knew that the acting was extremely important for my sense of identity and I knew that this is what I should be doing, wanted to be doing. So I was going to do a job, particularly at that point. I would have rather just doing theater, quite honestly, but the soap opera paid so well. Mm-hmm. So that's why I got into that world, which I'm really glad I did. That was, very interesting. It made you very facile, because when I started doing soaps, they were done like little plays.
Right.
They weren't done the way they're done now.
They were shot live, basically. Yeah.
They were shot basically live, and so you had to learn. And that's a great. And I remember one day going in, talking about anxiety, and I had learned the wrong script, and I had to learn that day's script that day, and I did it. And then I knew that I was capable of doing that. And once you know what you're capable of doing, it gives you an underpinning.
That first day on a soap set, though, had you had any camera training?
No.
I mean, it's a whole different level of performance for the camera.
They say that, but I think that if you are a good actor, it seems to me that you sort of calibrate your performance, because even in a theater, I mean, I've worked in 99-seat theaters, which you project a little differently than when you're in a theater that's 1,000 seats. And so here you are in a little room with, your cameras in front of you, and you simply calibrate to, you're talking to this person. You don't have to be heard except by the microphone, so you just bring it down. I'm sure there was a learning curve, but it always seemed pretty intuitive to me.
Well, soap operas were such a big deal. Everyone was watching them. All the housewives.
And they still are. They're just called Scandal and Murder, She Wrote.
That's right. You know what? That's a good point.
Grey's Anatomy.
True.
That's a good point. You're absolutely right about that.
So you were on A World Apart for a while, and then you transitioned over to Another World. These were major hits at the time. Is that the stuff that led you to be identified by Universal and sought after?
No. What led me there was a man that really didn't care that much for me, and I was devastated. So I thought I would do a play as well as the soap opera. So I did this play, and I had an agent, and another agent saw it, who said to me, was a better agent, a higher profile agent, and he said, I will handle you, but you have to leave the soap and you have to go to Hollywood. And I went, uh-oh. Well, leave the soap, leave security, uh-oh. Yes. So I worked it out with the producer of the soap that I would go to L.A. for 3 weeks. They gave me like a little hiatus, and this was a contractual thing. And I would see if I got a job, and I did. And then I gradually, pretty quickly, moved to to L.A., and the first big part that I got was really Rich Man, Poor Man, after, a couple of...
That's a pretty
segments.
big part.
That was a big movie.
And I turned it down because I thought, Rich Man, Poor... This was the second season, not the first season,
right,
which was the big season. This was the second season. And I turned it down because I thought, oh, boy, another soap opera. And I came out here to do, I don't know what I thought I came out to do. I guess I thought I came out to do movies or something, which I've never had a career in the movies, really. And the executive producer, who just died, and we stayed friends from that point on, Michael Gleason, said, took me to lunch. Took me to a fancy lunch and said, "Oh, Susan, this is a wonderful part." And it was the first lady lawyer on television, and the first mother of a child without a husband.
Oh.
She had a husband but was divorced. So it was a really, sort of a character that was riding the crest of the wave of the women's movement. It
right.
was a very, a strong female character who was intelligent. And anyway, I was so glad I did it. It was an interesting character, and it really started my career. That turn in the road, in life, it's all those little turns that you hope you're making the right choice. And as I said, I almost didn't do that. I don't know what would have happened, something else, I suppose.
And isn't that the role that won you your first Emmy nomination?
Yes, Bob. Thank you for bringing that up. It was. And then the Emmys were canceled that year for some reason or other. I don't remember.
Probably some kind of a strike or something.
As an actor...
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Speaking of the Emmy, and we're coming into award season rather dynamically right now, as an actor, does that stuff mean anything to you?
Yes and no. I think all actors recognize the fact that I know actors who've never been acknowledged with an award who are really extraordinarily brilliant actors. You know them too. Mm-hmm. So if you don't hit the right part and you're not, kind of in the loop, or if you don't have something exceptional about you, the way Meryl Streep does, there's a few on that really high level that just sort of jump out for a variety of reasons. I think, just as a human being, as you move, and I'm now at the age where you have got to acknowledge yourself. It's nice when other people acknowledge you, and I think along the road you need that. But then there comes a point where you say, I'm enough, just the way I am. And what I'm doing is good, and I like it. And I like me. So ha.
Sounds like you evolved, Susan.
You had the acclaim of others early, and you certainly earned the right to have self-acclaim, no doubt.
It took a long time to get there, believe me.
Sure. So after Rich Man, Poor Man, so now you're in the kind of the Hollywood system, right? Yeah.
When I said I rode the crest of the wave of the women's movement, I really want to acknowledge that timing and luck in this business, as you guys know, is so important. I came out at a time when I wasn't as pretty as a lot of people. I remember when they were casting Charlie's Angels, they told my agent, she's not pretty enough. So, you go, all right, well, that's not my thing.
And your agent told you that? Your agent told you that?
Yeah. My agent at one point, this was in New York, said, well, maybe you should think about getting your nose fixed. And I went, no, I don't think so. I think a good nose on stage is really important.
Time for a new agent.
Nose is, yeah. Well, and I did get a new agent as well.
So I'm sure every Hollywood or every actress in that time when Charlie's Angels casting started to come out, I'm sure everybody wanted to read for it at least once, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't. They didn't even want to see me. But at that point, I kind of liked the image that I had, because I went from being really the first lady lawyer on Rich Man, Poor Man, to the first doctor on Julie Forendi.
That's right.
That started out as a series of TV movies called Having Babies, and that was the first doctor. And people would say, oh, yeah, you're on the show about the nurse. And I would, no, the doctor. And then the third one was the Tylenol commercial that I did for 11 years.
Today, hospitals can use modern advances to help locate the source of pain. When it comes to relieving pain, the pain reliever hospitals use most is Tylenol. Look, last year, hospitals dispensed Tylenol 10 times more than the next 4 brands combined. So the next time you or someone in your family has a headache, ache, or pain, shouldn't you use Tylenol too? Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use.
It was the first time that a woman was the spokesperson for a medical product.
No, there's no doubt that...
And a medical product that women bought.
Right. No,
women.
There's
now,
absolutely...
this is in the 80s. It's hard for women to really stand up and honor other women. I mean, it was harder then. It's much better now.
Sure,
but the pendulum does swing.
No, there's no doubt, I think, and it even, I'll get to this in a second, but I think part of the reason you were so successful on Falcon Crest is you had a little bit of an audience history of being a little bit of an icebreaker, not being the woman sitting home baking cookies, if you will.
Exactly.
Having something to say, having a point of view, and being able to drive a storyline because of who you as an actor / character are. That had a lot to do with, I think, much of your career, the fact that you are unique in that respect, that you've never been the kind, in my experience, who sat back and said, sure, I'll say any words you give me. You've always needed a reason for what you're doing, and in having that reason, you've been able to project that strength that really didn't exist before the 80s, I don't think.
Well, thank you. I think that's true.
Well, Suzanne will vouch for this. When I was doing Falcon Crest with you and Bob and Jane, I would come home and say, "This is going to be very easy because these are scenes that Susan's in." Knowing that I always had an anchor.
That's true.
I always had an anchor that I could go to, regardless of whether it was pure exposition or something highly emotional. I could count on you, and you can admit this. You're not shy in retiring. You very rarely had retakes.
Probably not. Well, I don't remember. I didn't. I didn't want to work that long a day.
Well, you also had Jane Wyman looking over your shoulder, and she didn't want retakes.
Oh,
either.
yeah.
Right.
She didn't want to do retakes at all. I think that goes back to, that seminal moment when I went up on the Gettysburg Address. Sure. I was always prepared. I knew the lines. And I've seen that there are some actors who are always prepared, and then there are some actors who are borderline winging it, and they're not going to have a great career because you're not bringing your full arsenal of craft and mind to the game.
Right. Now, because most of our audience knows you from your television career, of all the shows you've done, from, I don't know, Rich Man, Poor Man, and all your guest shots on things like The New Maverick or The Incredible Hulk pilot, Falcon Crest, The Monroes, Dharma and Greg was a great show, and Castle most recently. Of all those, which would you say, A, did the most for you as an actor, and B, really conveyed the character that you felt?
Well, all of them. Let me just say that, because that's what the great joy of being an actor is. You find if you, and now when I choose things to do, I'm always looking for what can I learn about myself, what can I bring that's truthful about myself to this part that would illuminate who this character is and illuminate me to myself on just a selfish level. I would have to say on some level, it was probably because it was such a long run, was Falcon Crest, because the writers allowed me to collaborate with them and to say, I think Maggie, the character of Maggie, should have a relationship with the character of Richard, because I think there is a sense in the world that the good woman will redeem the man who is a little off. And so that was an interesting journey, and then they killed her in the pool, so it shows you that the good woman
what
is
you
not
get for that, right?
Anybody. Yeah, I got to explore, and I asked that Maggie be made an alcoholic, which I think probably was not such a good idea, but it was an interesting journey for me because of my deal with my own father. So that allowed me to invest myself in my own personal psychological growth, if you will. And I loved I loved all of them. And Dharma and Greg was the first chance that I had to do the comedy thing that I think is maybe my most unique gift, just to be able to have that kind of the ability to have timing is a gift, and if you don't get a chance to use it, it sort of lies dormant.
You know, Susan, I remember seeing a couple of those episodes, and I told Bob, my God, Susan's funny. You know, being on Falcon Crest, you know, was a much more serious role, of course. Do you enjoy doing comedy? Do you have a preference?
Well, now I think so. I think I just did a play called The Assembled Parties by Richard Greenberg, which is really a wonderful play, where I played a Yenta from Long Island, and I didn't know I had that Yenta in me, but she's there. So the part that I like the comedy, I like the great, profound satisfaction of hearing people laugh. It buoys your whole spirit up. And I do think probably the real purpose of life is to find the joy and the wonder in it. And sometimes that...
Well, the nice thing about comedy is that you get feedback quickly and you understand very fast whether you're working well or not.
That's right.
Whereas drama, they can be crossing their legs and just waiting for something to happen, you know.
And there's invariably, certainly in the theater, I mean, invariably, I've never been in a play where I haven't seen somebody sleeping invariably in the first row.
So you've worked with just about everybody who's anybody in the business, and this is a difficult question, I think, for anybody.
Is this the Barbara Walters question?
Maybe, yeah, probably is.
Oh.
All right, I'm crying.
If you could only have one more part, you know,
oh boy,
today's the day. We're only casting you for this final part, and you have your choice of leading men to play opposite. Of all the people you've worked with, and you've worked with people who are terrific. I mean, Bill Bixby, Jim Garner, Bob Foxworth, David Selby, one of my personal favorites. All those guys, who would you pick?
Nathan Fillion.
From Castle.
Because he's very relaxed, he's very easy, he's very improvisational. I love improvisation, and I have not... You know, I know there's a lot of series now that uses that, and you as a writer may just take that idea. But I like that, and that's the way he liked to work. And so I like, and he's really gifted. He's really gifted. He hasn't stretched himself to the degree that I think he could, and perhaps will.
Well, and I think over the run of the show, he's also evolved as an actor. I mean,
yeah,
I remember
he's really good.
Yeah, I mean, he's come into his own. When I first saw the pilot, I thought, who is this guy, and what is he doing? And you know, seriously, and 3 years later,
revealed.
And 3 years later, you see what he's doing. It's been a phenomenal run. That's terrific. And I have a series of Barbara Walters questions. Suzanne characterizes them as. But as an actress, and you've, again, worked with other leading ladies and some divas as well, who has most influenced your work as an actress?
Oh, that's a good question. Certainly Jane. Certainly her professionalism, you know, she was very interesting to work with. Everybody gives you another little piece of the puzzle of themselves. And I also learn, as we all do, a great deal from the people who are not so good.
Right.
Or not so principled. Lana Turner was that gal. Came to the set late, and you know.
Trust me, please don't make me relive that.
Yeah.
That was torturous.
So that's the learning curve. That's what makes it interesting.
And in all your experience, because you've done everything from Shakespeare to soaps to being a Playboy bunny to major hit series, is there a film, television, or literary character with whom you most identify?
Well, I think I most identify actually in terms of a character is the character on Castle that you know, was intermittently, you know, she would pop in and she would pop out, but she was very much based on my mother and on this part of life, this aging and still wanting to stay in the game, and how do you balance that with the game is receding into the distance. So that journey for me and that character was really rich because I got to look at myself in a real way, in real time, and I think that's always very interesting. And then I did with David Selby actually A Delicate Balance, and that character, rich and dimensional, and also controlling. And since that's an issue for probably for all of us, but how you let go of control because it destroys your relationship if you're trying to hold those reins too tightly. That character in Edward Albee's play Delicate Balance, Agnes, was a rich character for me too.
So Susan, on every set, generally there's a younger actor and older actors. Do you consider yourself a good mentor?
Yes, I do. I do a Twitter thing that I just started doing in this last year. I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but I'd like to put it out there because it's part of I call it unsolicited advice. And the irony of it is I can't stand when people give me unsolicited advice. However, I am redolent, if that's the right word. It's probably not. I know, Bob, I still use your unsolicited.
You're full of unsolicited advice, right?
Anyway, I like to. You have to be very careful because you really, to your fellow actor, you don't say anything unless they ask. And I know I have overstepped my bounds when I see something and I think, oh, I could help this person. So that is really a very big drive in me and something that I hope to be doing more of. And just, can I give you my Twitter handle?
Oh, please do.
And before you do, I must say, doing some research on you, I did go on your Twitter page, and Bob will contest to this. I was very impressed. I loved your Twitter feed.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what's your handle?
My handle is Real, Real, S for Susan, Sullivan, Real S. Sullivan. And I give unsolicited advice, and, in this tumult of political madness, it's been very interesting to be in the social media world.
For sure.
However, it's like stepping into a rabbit hole. It whirls you down deep, and it can pull the life out of you. So it's like anything else.
I only wish that the media overall was as sensitive and as careful as you are on your Twitter page about speaking to this.
Thank you. It's a struggle, and I agree with you, Suzanne. I think the people on the left should be really listening to the news on the right as well as the news on the left, because people get so rigid on both sides, and it's so
tough.
Dark
it's
and divisive.
Hard.
Sure,
absolutely.
Sure.
Love your Twitter feed.
Well, it sounds like your instinct for mentoring circles back to your interest in teaching.
But I think that's what the actor is, Bob, and that's what the writer is.
Mm-hmm.
We're all teachers. I mean, essentially, I think we're all teachers of each other. I mean, that's what is this whole business about? And now that I'm near the last chapter, as they say, you just have to go, what is this about? Now that I'm kind of wising up, I'm getting ready to drop dead. What? I don't get it.
I know we're so much smarter now.
Well, so
I know.
In that respect, then tell me, what lessons do you wish you had learned when you were younger?
Oh, I'm still trying to learn it. I just think that there's a way to all these words sound so cliched. It's really about being in the moment of your life. I look back and I missed so much because I was whirling. We're whirling so much of the time. And when I can sort of tap myself down and I am blessed beyond my comprehension, beyond my wildest dreams as a child, that I would have a life like this now and be able to enjoy it. And that's what I want, to just stay in the moment and enjoy it and not feel guilty and not feel the big shoulds that run through our brain all the time.
Sure. And you no longer have the need to go out there and sell tomatoes.
No, I don't. And I don't have the need to go out there and do, work that's kind of just a distraction.
Sure.
And I'm understand distraction because we all need that too.
So as we wrap up, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate your doing this, because you've really taught people a lot here, and our listeners are looking for that insight to careers and what it really takes. And what I've heard about preparation, I think, is highly instructive. But one of my last questions I want to ask you, knowing you as I do and as Suzanne does, we're not surprised by much, but what would surprise people about you?
Oh, that I can be mean. Or well, maybe that isn't a surprise. You're not acting surprised, Bob and Suzanne.
I'm stunned. I'm very surprised.
That I can be mean. Yeah, that I have a dark. In fact, that's one of the things I don't think I play well. When I've seen myself play these dark characters, these angry women, I have anger in me, and it's very fascinating to me. Actors who can play anger and win you. Oh, Danny DeVito is brilliant at it. He can be really angry, play real anger, but there's always some kind of delight and humor wrapped around it. My anger has a viciousness to it that I don't like to see. So I try to avoid those parts. I think that would be the surprise if you just saw me in the supermarket turn on the little old lady behind me who's taking too long to get her groceries together.
Now, Susan, what advice would you give a young actor now that is striving to get in the business and make a living at it, of course? And there's so many different ways, and the media has changed so much in technology. What core advice would you give a young actor right now?
First of all, it has changed so dramatically. It used to be, and I still function that way, that I had an agent, and that agent was interested in me and my career, and that doesn't work that way anymore. Now you have to come in and you have to, it seems, have a team. Now, I don't know that you necessarily have to have a team, and I see these young actors giving a lot of their money away to a publicist and a manager and an agent and this and that. But I do think you have to think much more strategically than I had to think back in the day. I just assumed that, somebody would give me a part and I would go and audition. And the secret of auditions, by the way, because I think this is important, is to really love doing it. You have to find a way to make auditioning so much fun for yourself, because that's what you want to bring into the room. You want to bring in confidence. You want to bring in the strength of your presence, and you don't want to be blocked. There's that. Okay. And then I would think, as I see these actors all over the place in L.A. doing all kinds of things, waitressing and here and there and everywhere, you need to have a support group, an acting company, an acting class, people where you can network and figure out all the social media things that you can do, the YouTube and the your own little videos and so on. People audition at home and into your phone. It's a completely new world, but it's all accessible because there's so much information out there. So all you have to do is Google it, as they say.
Perfect. So give me your Twitter handle again, because I'm going to be all over it.
Oh, you're so cute.
It's a good one.
Please. I'm not a writer. It's not. I don't want to. Anticipation is deadly. Our expectations are deadly. Anticipation is deadly too. But expectations are deadly. It's just me. It's a way that I have a discipline in my life, which I think we all need. It's the way that I start the day to sort of center myself, to think, what can I offer of myself, of my accumulated.
Of your experience, absolutely.
Of my experience. And it's Real S. Sullivan.
Great.
So, thank you. Okay, and you guys, we're going to have dinner.
Absolutely.
I'd love to do that.
We'd love to.
We'd love to meet your significant other as well.
Yeah, his name is Connell Calvin. He wrote Smart Women, Foolish Choices. I always say.
Sure, I know
he wrote
that book.
It, I lived it. Wow. And I met him through Falcon Crest. So that's how long we've been together.
Wow.
What a great
story. Thank you, Falcon Crest. Thank you, Bob McCullough.
Oh, our pleasure. Glad we could help.
Yeah.
All right, Susan. Thanks so much. And
we'll be in touch.
You're welcome.
Let's definitely be in touch. Okay.
Thank you, Susan.
Okay, to be
Take
continued.
Care.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. One of the reasons why I really liked Susan when I first met her,
what?
She came across so honest. And
she's real. There's no doubt about that.
Hearing her speak again, she is so honest. I love that about her.
She's just the most grounded actor I've been around in a long, long time.
Great stories.
And I just, anyway, I really appreciate her doing that. I think that our audience will get a lot out of her message. And the message is, if you're going to be in this business, be prepared.
There's one thing I did forget to ask her, and maybe one of these days I'll get to. Was it a huge transformation for her, a huge change going from New York to Los Angeles? I mean, I would think it would be, but if you're a professional, I guess you just go where the work is.
Yeah, and you know what? She also is very courageous. She was willing to take chances, and that's another part of the business. If you're afraid to make a move, that's a problem. Anyway, Susan was great.
Love her honesty.
Yeah, it was terrific. Listen, before we go, I want to remind everybody, go to our website at wherehollywoodhides.com, where you can pick up our book. It's a hardcover, full-color edition, full of celebrities, Where Hollywood Hides, Celebrities in Paradise. And if you go to the website, you get free shipping.
It's a great coffee table book, great conversation book. And also, I'd love to plug Susan's Twitter page.
Oh, yeah. Be sure. I want to remind the audience, she really invited us to visit her Twitter page, and you'll find her at Real S. Sullivan. At Real S. Sullivan is her Twitter handle. So
very inspirational stuff.
Yep. So we'll see you all there. Until next time, this is Bob McCullough.
And this is Suzanne Herrera-McCullough. We'll see you in the movies.
They come from Chillicotes and Paducas with their bazookas to get their names up in lights.
All armed with photos from local rotos, with their hair in ribbons and legs in tights. Hooray for Hollywood! You have no way of knowing who'll make good.
Maybe you'll be another Papa Dion, your name in neon. If you get lucky, you could. Yes, buddy, you'll arrive if you can top his 5. Hooray for Hollywood!